Mission fucking accomplished. Goon Swarm is not a threat.
Good luck with your all's dumb nullsec war. Snuffed out #1. Anunnaki Keepstar is next, and then come on.
There, then you were just going to fucking magically jump into EVE Online in a system, and it was just going to load, and nobody was going to call you fucking stupid later?
There's an Eagle fleet that has dive bombed a Megatron fleet. This is the bravest shit I have ever seen in my life.
The best possible shot to do something to the Imperium, and you fucked it up.
I talked a lot of shit over the last couple months. It's time to fucking eat some. And I showed up here to eat shit. Like,
the reason that this keeps started and get contested, and I cannot make this up, is because of tie-dye.
Guess where goons are gonna live after this war is over?
Current plan is 319, I believe, right?
Hell.
Hi, sick.
I can
People
tell you very
overreacting.
clearly, our Diplos didn't even fucking care. Like,
White daddy.
Hold up.
With guest Ariel Rin.
Thank God.
Oh
Thank
no! No!
Thank
I
God.
can't believe it!
Oh, thank God. Guys,
I can't believe you
guys,
didn't make
so
it
check
work.
this out. Hi, welcome. So check it out. I completely redid this in the regular OBS, right?
Oh,
And thankfully, for the first few seconds of the show, it was completely silent, so you couldn't hear the embarrassing thing that Phantom made. I'm really happy about that.
I was
Really,
really
really
proud
glad.
of it, but you know, whatever.
You want to do it again?
No.
You can try it again. Bro came out. Yeah, he said beep boop beep boop beep beep boop. Technical update for EVE Online with guest
You
Ariel
doing it
Rin. What? That's what he
Why are
did.
you doing it now? It wasn't
Well-
good the first time.
Well, because he
the
wasn't.
amusing
He didn't
thing
do it.
is now it's Redline that's done it for everybody here.
Oh yeah, because
But-
there wasn't any sound when you did it.
But
There
now
was when
that
I did.
But now that people can hear us, we have Luke, we have myself, we have Robo Redline, and we have Ariel Rin here to talk about a couple of different things. We're looking forward to talking about, of course, the technical update to some of the graphics capabilities of EVE Online. The dev blog of which didn't go into specifics. And yesterday we have bombshell rebalance announcements as well, including the complete removal of Redline's only method of kill mail
We
farming.
had
in this game.
CCP Okami on the show, right? We had him on the show. We hosted him. We made him feel like a king in our kingdom here, and he turned around behind my back and
Mhm.
did this to me.
Did what to you? What revealed more than he was willing to do here? That's
No,
fine.
no, no, no,
That's
no,
fine.
not that, not that. What he did was he said that they were gonna make it so that burst jammers could only be battleships and haulers.
They did. They did say that.
Now, what's the problem?
Well, hold on. I tell you what, Luke. I tell you what. No. Hold on, Luke. You're a host. Ariel, welcome to the show again. It's good to see you again. Was it last CSM season that you were here?
Yeah, it was actually last CSM season, the CSM season that I got removed. So I'll have to remind people about that.
Got removed is an emotive way of saying it. It makes it sound like you were kicked.
I was cut off from running halfway through my campaign.
Well, you are a technical person, and we have a lot. The community has a lot to thank you for. But you're here because of your understanding today. Now, I don't know whether your skills necessarily branch directly into graphics technology, but I know that even myself, I'm not a developer of anything whatsoever, but I feel like I've got a basic grasp of aspects of graphics technology as well. So we'll get to the we'll get to the balance shortly, I guess. But did you have a read of their upcoming hype for their graphics changes?
Yeah, obviously we've been talking about it in the CSM. I've raised some concerns about multi-box performance. I didn't manage to make it to the mass test, but I've been sort of keeping a close eye on it. It's not exactly my area of expertise, but I like poking around computers. I'm an absolutely degenerate multi-boxer. I've
Good, because I've got some
some
questions, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. I've been helping my alliance upgrade to 64 gig of RAM, just like giving them advice, and making sure they buy the right components and that sort of thing. I'm just like that guy. So some of the people have been spending, $600 or $700 just to be able to play Eve and run like 10 clients. We're starting to get pushed over that line where 32 gig of RAM isn't enough for 10 clients. And that's a really scary place to be in if you're a multi-boxer, because you sort of don't really start until you're at 10 clients, kind of in my opinion, because Eve just scales so linearly past that.
Yeah, you make it sound like it's a problem, but a design problem. But we'll leave that for another type of show.
Could be this type of show right here.
So I run 3 clients tops. Okay, so and they're all doing different things. So I don't know what it's like to truly multi-box. What is the deal that I hear about with people talking about DirectX 12 versus DirectX 11 performance when it comes to multi-boxing?
Yeah, so the real big architectural difference between 11 and 12 is with 12, your GPU kind of decides what's going on instead of back in the day, your CPU sort of ran the show. And that is literally extending upon what CCP's new thing is. GPU-driven pipelines is the GPU gets to decide more of what's going on. DirectX 12 already does that. It already decides resource allocation. It's kind of the GPU is the boss of the show. The GPU-driven pipeline is just kind of taking that to the next level and implementing more DirectX 12 features. DirectX 12 is kind of optional as to how much of it you do and how much of it you don't do. This is just taking it and building upon DX12 and doing more of that. The downside of that, in my opinion, is with DirectX 12, the GPU wants to do the best for your client, but it doesn't understand that you're running 10 clients or even 3 clients. So you sort of end up with going, hey, I could do this shiny stuff, or I could like send more frames. Meanwhile, you've got 2 other clients sitting there going, can I have some frames, please, sir? And it's most people I know run DX12 for 1 client. That is it. If you are even double boxing, you drop back to DX11 because it is just a mess.
So is this something that CCP can realistically help with when it comes to DX12? Do they have DirectX 12 options available to them that would make it more multi-box friendly, do you know? Or is this a problem that's entirely within Microsoft's set of choices?
I don't know. I actually hadn't thought too much about that. I don't think it's like what other game runs multiple clients, right?
It's basically only MMOs, and Eve is an extreme example on top of it being an MMO thing, really, isn't it?
The problem you've got is with DX12. It's not just DX12, but DX12 does this more profoundly. There's generally you're limited how much input you can put to the GPU in sense of kind of application prioritization. The GPU is trying to go, this is what you have in focus, so I'm going to give it this resource, but it kills your other clients in the process. I think you can optimize it, but I think there is a limited level of input that even CCP could do through their code to try and instruct the GPU to do a thing. Because Eve is still a game running in the operating system, right? It's still somewhat slightly abstracted from being able to issue those commands without giving Eve probably a lot more permissions than you would want to give it. So you can make microscopic improvements, but you are still somewhat limited by the operating system, and to a degree, probably limited by the graphics architecture. I'm not even sure how much Microsoft could do about it, really.
I mean,
you've also got you've got things like Windows is in the mix, as Luke said, and you've got things like game mode. which are inherently designed to make one game run fast. So a company like Microsoft isn't considering multiple games at once. Certainly not considering, multiple of the same game at the same time.
Something I would very much like to see, and I remember back in 2020 when it came out, CCP, at least towards the end of 2020 or early 2021, I think, they released a new Mac OS client for Eve, and I inquired at the time. I said, "Is this using some kind of layer for DirectX compatibility, or is this native to Metal?" For anybody watching who might not be aware, Metal is to Mac OS what DirectX is to Windows. In a way, it's a graphics API, and I was assured at the time that the Mac client of Eve was native Metal. Now, I don't know how true. I don't know how necessarily true that might be, because in my mind, as a non-expert in this, it implies to me that it is within CCP's capability to support another graphics API. Because if that's true, then they did it. They gave it native Metal compatibility. And if that's entirely true, without any sort of asterisks or caveats, I do wonder what it would take for CCP to support something like Vulkan instead. Which may Vulkan's another graphics API, so it's open source, and so it's essentially native to Windows and Linux. It's not native to Apple GPUs, but there is a layer that can go in between to make it more or less native to Apple GPUs as well. But if DirectX 12 if the situation is that DirectX 12 is going to behave like this and there's not really anything that can be done about it, I would love to know internally from CCP whether they have considered how realistic it is to consider moving or offering Vulkan support, something like that as well.
I'm probably going to say something that's going to make me unpopular with Linux people and Vulkan and everyone in general, but I don't think Vulkan fixes the problem. In a lot of circumstances, it's worse. It's within margins of error, but the vast majority of Eve are Windows players, and Vulkan doesn't solve the multi-boxing problem, right? It doesn't solve resource allocation. Vulkan is very akin to DX12 on that level.
So it has the same kind of problem that you're telling us about.
Yes, it's not inherently software. Well, I mean, it is a software problem, but it's not a software problem, right? It's the software is trying to do what most users would want to do with their graphics architecture. Most users are not running multiple clients that require high FPS counts simultaneously. So it's not. Yes, Vulkan maybe gives you some additional flexibility to create some customization to allow for that. In like very unique, like, an Eve mod for Vulkan, because obviously it's open source, but it's still not going to fix the problem, because it's the problem is ostensibly a hardware problem rather than a software problem. The software is just trying to do the best it can with the situation that's presented to it.
Go on, sorry, yeah.
I was going to say there's ultimately only a single solution for this. Like, if you follow this to its logical end.
2 graphics cards.
Okay, yeah, 10 graphics cards, right? One for each client.
That's a bit excessive, right? But...
Okay, I am now wrong. There is 2 solutions to this problem. Why are we running multiple Eve clients to multi-box? It's kind of the logical solution to this at the end of the day.
One big hyper client.
One client. Exactly. Why can't one client run 10 accounts? And then they're sharing their resource caches between each other. They're sharing the memory between each other, and you're not looking at 2.5 gig per client on potato graphics.
Yeah.
And trying to eke out more performance that way.
I mean, the elephant in the room when we talk about how much RAM it takes per client is that obviously we were running this game 20 years ago on graphics cards that only had 2-digit megabytes of memory at one stage themselves for the textures. Now, I know that there has been repeated refreshes major and smaller, almost every year to the fidelity of EVE Online, which uses more resources. But it does beg the question, why is it so fat right now? I mean, in a way, it sort of parallels how much RAM a browser needs to display a few tabs compared to the that we were doing it 20 years ago as well.
You just answered the question there, right? People want faster, higher fidelity, whether that's faster video games or better graphics video games or faster browsers. And we go through cycles in hardware, right? Of what hardware is cheap. Well, let's just maximize that, right? So now it's all about offloading to RAM because RAM is reasonably inexpensive. But it means a race to the bottom, right? Those older machines just can't cope with that. But they're just the cycles we go through, right? Every couple of years, right? A couple of years ago, disk was cheap, so all of a sudden it was like, well, more stuff to disk. You're never gonna get around that. It's just the infinite cycle of tech, right?
It just seems like, obviously, DirectX 12 isn't going away, and there's no DirectX 13 on the horizon. And even if there was a DirectX 13 on the horizon, there's no guarantee that it would behave any differently to the problem that DirectX 12 is giving us here. So, unless somebody who is both extremely hyper expert about this stuff was here and they could describe it to a mind like this that doesn't fully understand it, it feels like there simply isn't a solution coming for this except to buy a 5090 and put 128 gigs of RAM in your PC,
or buy two 1060s and still save probably a lot of money.
We still have DX11. There's no
Yeah.
reason that can't be a supported pipeline moving forwards.
Yeah.
Depends
what Windows 12 supports, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, do we have any further comments on the multi-boxing resource problems, or indeed the upcoming graphical performance? I mean, they did promise in this post that better performance is one of their aims, so we got that.
I actually think the point that Ariel raised in his one of the two solutions to fix it is the right solution, right? Over the years, lots of applications have now built memory sharing between similar processes, right? Office now does this, where it once didn't used to. Chrome attempts to do it, and it still uses all of the RAM in the world, but it tries to do it. I think Ariel is right. The next logical step is to go, you can launch multiple clients, and then they share resources and assets internally as much as they can.
I would very much hope that our very own Flea Harvey Oswald in chat is writing this down, and tomorrow morning will be banging his hand on his desk, because obviously he stayed over in Iceland. He lives there now. He won't leave the CCP offices. He'll start demanding this kind of tech.
Yeah, I will say this is something I've been sort of starting to surface on the CSM. I went through and logged something like 20 EBRs on Friday. Sorry from CCP, whoever needs to manage that. Just because I had 5 clients using half gig of RAM more than the others for absolutely no reason. I sat down, I did my 45 minutes worth of tech to try to work out what was going on there, and I couldn't figure anything out. So sort of trying to surface this to CCP and say, hey, can we have a look at this and spend some resources on, if I turn graphics off, why am I still getting resources being used, essentially? I've found some tricks to actually turn textures off entirely in the client that you can't do in client. If you change a settings file, you can just have no textures whatsoever, but it doesn't affect
look
memory.
beautiful.
It's completely potato. Everything is Galente. But resource usage doesn't go down, so that doesn't make any sense to me. We'll see. Something to work on.
Something that we'll talk about the other day is, should the best, most efficient path in EVE be a endless proliferation of accounts and multi-boxing that scales as far as you are willing to purchase for your computer?
Fucking no way, Jose. Could not be a thing.
Redline's back off suicide watch now.
No. I was kicked off. I was vote kicked for 10,000 channel points. I was vote kicked off the stream. I've been
Absolutely
respecting
incredible.
it, which is also fine because I have no idea what you're talking about with the stuff. But I tell you what, I don't think that multi-boxing. I think that continue to be a computer, and if you want to do it, you should have to buy a 5090 or strap to 1060 because social game, be social. Multi-boxing
I
is the most
suppose that
antisocial thing you could do.
Perhaps the more nuanced way of looking at it is if you make it be a completely outside of the game limitation, then it's not really game design that's controlling this anymore.
That's fine. It isn't game design and game design can't control it.
It's not, and that's how it is. But
how would you make EVE Online not scale with more accounts?
that is a 3-hour show for the future.
Like the game is completely based around N+1. So if you can be your own +1, why wouldn't you? Like that's the thing.
I mean,
I would
basically,
choose to have
you're
a
just
friend.
describing current Eve.
I know that's what I mean, but that's the thing is like we're making it easier to do that, or what?
There's lots of games at N+1 in theory if you could multi-box them. It's not inherently an Eve problem. I mean, it is an Eve problem. But
because it's not a theory with Eve though. That's the thing. Most MMOs have actually banned multi-boxing. Like WoW, you can't multi-box. At least you couldn't when I played it.
I mean, if you've got 4 of your mates, you're better than someone with 2 of their mates, right? So it's still kind of N+1. It's just not encouraged with multi-boxing. But Phantomite is right. That is a 3-hour show and not today's show.
All right then.
What we could do, boys, we could move on to the bombshell reveal of upcoming changes to several aspects of the game, notably some of the balance changes. Now, CCP used obviously the most frequented platform. Everybody who plays EVE Online is endlessly scrolling Instagram, of course. So this is where we all went. This is where it all popped up for us. It all notified on our phones to hop back onto Instagram and check out CCP's latest post.
This hot fucking my bad.
So before we go to the ECM burst changes, how about we talk Sinos on Hicks?
Hey, there we go. Now that's something that I like a lot.
I've seen mixed reactions on this. I'm gonna ask for yours, but I'm not gonna hide mine. I feel it's an overall a positive change.
Absolutely.
How are you boys feeling about it?
I think any ship that has any additional ships that get Sinos put on them is a positive change for the game. Frankly, I don't think they've been removed from all the ships game. So anything that they add in is helpful. That's my take.
I mean, limiting them to recons, and I guess we could talk about them being on Blops battleships as well, but it starts to have a lot of pros and cons when you do that. Limiting them to recons did some interesting stuff. Namely, one thing it did was it really upped the risk, the ISK risk when moving your caps. Notably, when you were moving a small number of caps or solo, right? It's a lot of money to put on the line just to move a few jumps in your own cap. Not a lot of money when it's a large group jumping to it, that kind of thing. Obviously, it has some combat situation things to think about as well. Like, that recon does not have very many hit points at all compared to what you would fit a Sino to in large to very large fights previously.
Fucking Atron, bro? Are you kidding me? That's what I would fit a Sino to, is an Atron. An Ares. Like, those things are paper thin, but no. Couldn't do it.
If you... I mean, one of the... Yeah, you just don't like what I'm saying, so you've removed me. It's just typical Redline. In one of the most important sights and most epic things to see in EVE Online is during a fight, a Sino going up and support flooding in. Subcaps being bridged, caps coming into it, that kind of thing there. People have repeatedly talked about Sinos. There's been debate about it since Sinos were introduced to the game. And some people have said, oh, make it spool up before the Sino is active, that kind of thing. That would completely remove the ability to hot drop, which some people will go, yeah, exactly. And, I'm sure that all four of us here would go, no. That's a very important tactical maneuver to be able to do that. Sinos are obviously, we all know, they're used to blob a single defenseless venture with 12 Titans. Sinos are also used to bring 100 Titans in to face another 100 Titans. Putting it on Hicks, I think, is going to alleviate the alt requirements for the game. Funny, considering what we just talked about, right? About multi-boxing. Your Sino character can now be dual purpose. It can operate as a useful tactical ship on the field, and then, if needs, it can also light a Sino at the same time. You've just dual purposed that character. Any thoughts on that kind of that aspect of the change? Or does that kind of describe it?
That's
describes
literally it.
Yeah. I mean, this thing isn't going to be stealthy. It's not going to be sneaky. It doesn't have a cloak. It's going to be right there.
Well, it doesn't have to.
Everybody
right?
can see it.
Because what this will be, this is so if you think about it, what is one thing that down a suit?
100 Atrons.
Right, yeah, 100 Atrons or a Hick. Like,
yeah,
you just take a Hick. So
yeah.
you scout with the Hick if you want to, and Sino up, call it a day.
Yeah.
Like, you bring in your friends.
I mean,
but what are your friends
It's a trade-off, though. It's a trade-off, though, because your Hick is very obviously on D-scan and then on grid. There's no, like, staging it 500 kilometers away waiting to pounce for 10 minutes, is there?
No, absolutely not. You're straight up, you're right there in the action.
Why don't you put a poll in the chat? See if people are overall happy or overall unhappy about this change here. What I'd really like to, something that none of the four of us here seem to be on board with, but something that I want to hear from people is I want to hear the arguments against this. Have any of you heard any of the arguments against this?
I haven't heard any arguments.
I've not seen any explicit arguments against it.
I'm
I've
also
seen
not
some
looking
people
for them.
against it.
Connor,
I haven't
Polls
seen
up,
any
guys.
argument.
Start voting.
Why against it?
I don't know. There has been a few voices that have been violently against this, but I have yet to eke out a cohesive thought from them.
I'll
I'm
tell you
gonna
one
pull
thing
in the
that's for
chat
sure.
for Twitch chat. I can't
There's-
see a
there's-
bad thing about it.
You're not going to get a cohesive thought.
I don't know whether
Right.
how this could be construed necessarily as a negative or a positive, but something that is true is that these things do have higher resists, so they can take a lot more damage under reps than, like, say, a pilgrim could.
No, they can't. They have their bubble up. Can't.
No, we're talking about using them as a Sino ship here, not necessarily as having their point activated.
But they will, though. Like, that's the point of flying
Not
a Hick.
necessarily. Well, no,
if
the point of
you
flying
would
a hit
just
could
fly
be
a
just Sino.
saber, would just fly a saber and a prospect at that point. Like, that would be two, but you're right. You're combining one, but have your bubble
Remember,
up for sure.
Don't forget, in low sec, we have to actually target and activate modules on our enemies. We don't have any of this any of this fire and forget bombs or bubbles stuff. We have to actually fly our ships, Redline.
Oh, come on now. That's we also have to fly our ships. Sometimes we have to fly our ships out of obstacles, bubbles. It's not our fault that the only way that you're willing to use capital is if you can immediately escape with them without being halted. You know, we put our shit on the battlefield, and it can be stuck there 14 hours. You know what? So are we, Mister. You know, talk about commitment issues, huh? Don't make me come for low sec, fan. I'll do it.
I'd like to see you try. Hey, listen, look, we've had 6 votes. Everybody's in favour. There we go. Somebody's giving us some stats here. Onyx is only 20k EHP more than the Falcon. Amateur.
Only.
So the deal is, I know that 20,000 EHP in a large fight isn't necessarily a lot, but it does have higher resists, which means it can sustain a lot more incoming damage while being repped.
Well, and depending on like broadsword, broadswords are extreme, but you can actually put on it or something like that, which makes it. I remember being small cruise. I mean, we crossed a broadsword, not kill him, fucked.
Yeah, it sounds like a normal nullseeker PvP encounter.
I'm fundamentally misunderstanding what the problem with not being able to kill a Sino is, because if you kill the Sino, people don't come to you and then you can't kill them.
Well, you may be
I don't
wanting to
think-
kill the Sino because you're the underdog and you want to delay the enemy's response.
Huh. I don't know if I've ever been in that situation.
Well, it depends on what the response is, right? If the response is like 100 Titans, like yeah, no, I want to delay that response definitely. Also, thanks for letting me know that my mic was cutting out. Appreciate it. It should be fixed now, I think. Maybe not.
I didn't hear it cutting out.
Yeah, you wouldn't, but the stream might.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, I think that this is going to be a minor nerf to some subsets of people. The reason that I said I felt that this is, you know, overall is a good change is that I see a lot more opportunities growing for fleet combat by doing this. Most notably from my point of view, if I were the type to be regularly using capitals, then it'd be really useful for me to be able to spend that character on something that had more combat utility than just waiting to light the Sino.
Well, and I'm trying to think of like the use case for a Hector, like being the Sino, because if I'm in a Blops fleet, I'm gonna want something that's sneaky, right? Not a Hector. If I'm in like a regular ship fleet, I need to have a Titan nearby to be able to bridge to the Sino anyways, and I probably
Yeah.
won't. So like what's the use case for a Sino on a Hector other than
It can stay alive for longer because it's got a bit more EHP, but it can sustain more remote reps. And if while it's not
yes, but
being...
when are you going to use it that you don't have something to use in that instance already, is what I'm asking.
I'm saying that the character that I previously would have had in a pilgrim, whose only ability was to light a Sino, can now, as well as being ready to light the Sino, I can also use that character to infinity point people and do long scrams.
Okay, so like
And I got to be real. If you look at things, especially the broadsword, that thing can behave like a hack. It's got plenty of brawling DPS on that as well. In fact, in a lot of cases, it makes a better hack than, you know, I'm trying to, well,
you
in
could
the
have a whole
Minotaur
fleet.
lineup, it's really
You
the
could have
Munin.
a whole fleet of broadswords or onyxes. I think Horde did an onyx
You
fleet
can.
for a while.
You can. They're just a bit expensive. Is one of the dampening aspects of that there. But you know, they don't have the ADC, but they have way more EHP. They have a ton of specifically brawling DPS. They're reasonably fast for a Tech 2 cruiser. It's a great ship.
And they have insane grid control, especially in nullsec. Everyone
Especially when they
bubbles
put their bubble up.
Ooh. It's just
Well, I mean,
a giant
they don't
field
all
of
need to put their
nothing.
bubble up. All of them putting their bubble up won't really change the outcome.
Right,
You'll
you
just
go
use capacitor.
names A through G, and then H through J.
One cool aspect of using a Hick as a brawling hack is that you free up that mid slot from a point in a lot of cases. What we've done is in the occasions where we've used it, we have still used a mid slot on some of them for tackle, so that we can receive reps while because even if you take the infinity point out of the equation, some of them are still brilliant hacks. They're really
they're strong,
underappreciated
and like
ships.
I said, very strong for solo too. So like,
Yeah.
absolutely strong for smuggling, but it's just the logistics of the ships. So like I'm trying to figure out the use case, like what situation I'm going to use a Sino on a Hick, and I get what you're saying. Like, if I'm in that situation, now I've got it. I love 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 it.
You
But-
still wouldn't use it in place of a recon if you were just moving a couple of caps, because I'm assuming now. I mean, Luke, you may know this, but if it's not been revealed, you can't tell me if I'm right or not yet until Wednesday, right? But I'm assuming that the Hick isn't going to have a bonus to the cycle time of the Sino, so it's going to be a 10-minute Sino on a Hick rather than a 5-minute Sino like a recon.
Why wouldn't it?
I'm going to just run like Ariel and let people
Why don't
speculate.
you go on
don't see why it
Instagram?
would. Oh,
Surely there's
stop
going
it.
to be a reel that explains this. I don't know. I don't have an Insta account, so I have no idea what's been leaked. I
That's
actually
right.
can't.
That's
I can't
okay,
even
because
guess.
we watched. I'm okay. I won't say we, but I watched all of the Instagram reels, and I put everything together in nice little bullet points for everybody to talk about. If anyone from CCP is watching, I want you to listen to me right now. Do not post this shit on Instagram reels.
Hey, they've got to
Instagram
give the
reels.
people who want to use Instagram something.
Reels is okay. I'm sorry, not just on Instagram Reels. Instagram
Okay.
Reels is one of, if not the worst platforms to get information on, because you cannot seek in the video, which means every time one of you fast talking motherfuckers says something too fast for me to hear it and write it down, I have to watch the whole goddamn video one more time, a whole nother time, and wait for you to say it again.
So did you
Stop
watch
it!
today's one? Did you watch the one
Yes.
that
3 times, the fast talking son of a bitch.
I'll tell you what I would have appreciated is I watched, obviously on Instagram, I watched it in my browser, and you cannot do any meaningful control over the video.
That's what I just said.
Listen. Am I being stupid? Right? Don't answer yet. I can't control the volume of the video in browser, right?
Correct. You can only mute it or
Okay,
unmute
good.
it.
Okay, great. So that thing just screamed the update into my
absolutely.
ears.
Ooh, that's CCP Burger. Oh, that's CCP Okami. I could hear his beard a mile away. Yes, correct.
Now, before we head into the much more controversial changes to the ECM burst, what's that?
It's not controversial unless
It's
you're
not
redline.
controversial. There's maybe 6 people that think that it's bad, and 2 of them, like I'm one of them, and the other 5 are dicks. So like it doesn't even.
Let's get to it in a minute.
It's just those 5 of the 6 that are dicks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just do it for a little hee meme, you know, like haha, broke your target lock. It's funny.
So in the notes here, this is talking about one video that I clearly didn't pay enough attention to. You said improvement, just very briefly, improvements to fleets. Disband fleet button. I'm guessing that just boots everybody from the fleet.
Yes, disbands the fleet, just like you
Neat.
would imagine.
Yeah, cool.
It's huge.
Really,
it's huge. Like,
really looking
needed
forward
thing.
to giving 250 people a session change timer without their consent. Loving that. What does different settings mean? Does that storing multiple fleet layouts?
Yes. A difference in like the default settings and stuff like that, so you don't have to like open a fleet as a certain setting that's like saved. Just a way to an efficiency thing.
At the moment, you open a fleet, and then there's still 6 steps you've got to do, right? Like you have to turn free move off. And you have to
Well,
do.
not
It's
if you
terrible.
save it.
If you save it as
No,
a
half of
template,
those settings don't save. That's what this changes.
Here's the thing. Here's a weird thing. If you do not put custom names to the squads and to like squads or wings, it doesn't save.
Yeah.
So we've also got checkboxes to exempt from conduit jumps, warps, and regroups. Excellent. No, I like that. That's a nice little sort of
the conduits and the
marching
regroups
forward
is
piece of
good.
progress.
Conduits and regroups is good.
Yep. Very nice. Before we go on to the ECM things, we do have a comment that says Hicks can use scripts in low sec for infinite point. Hunters used to use Sino Hicks to grab supers and Titans. That playstyle basically died out. Skyhawk, you're absolutely right. It will be a big bonus to super hunting in low sec. However, the real thing that really pushed the nail 95% of the way into hunting supers in low sec was the introduction of citadels coming up on 9 years ago. But nonetheless,
Why isn't this
that's
guy in
that's
comms
a-
with us? He's in the chat, not in comms? What?
you go fetch him. Go fetch him. But we're going to talk about the ECM bursts now, right? What's your? That's a bit weird, Redline.
This is all I can do. I mean, what do you want me to do? Go get him? Like, I don't know where he is.
He is technically a host on this show, according to this.
Yeah.
Technically. In the technical sense of the word. The little sword next to his name, the little
I can
crown.
feel myself turning into a robot again. Quick, we need to move on.
Technically. Well,
All right.
so look, I mean, let's talk about the ECM burst jammers, right? So, can you just raise your hand if you've ever been inconvenienced by an ECM burst jamming scepter?
Yeah.
Put your
so
fucking
believe-
hand down. You weren't
No.
inconvenienced. You were trolled. That's it. Was there a meaningful detriment to
Here's what I would
your
like.
experience other than motherfucker? My target got broken,
Here is
and you had to
um,
click the guy in your fleet window again.
there are situations in which I would deem being ECM bursted to be, yeah, he got me. That's the game. That's the mechanics. And there are situations where I think this is absolute nonsense. And the situations where it's absolute nonsense is when it is ships that are basically insta warp doing it, coming in, bursting, and leaving. There's not really any meaningful counterplay to that.
Well, what's it doing
aside
to
from
you?
smart bombing your entire fleet?
You're not dying because of it.
What it is somebody who has put comparatively zero investment in their ship, having a hugely endlessly wide effect on very large numbers of people.
What do you mean? Come on, you come to press F1 and you're going to talk about an investment? Like what? You bought
I'm
a
saying
different ship?
I'm saying they've put no investment into it. They are ECM bursting an entire fleet.
Put a
they've
bubble up.
spent sometimes 1 million ISK on the entire ship and fleet.
Put a bubble up. Why don't you put a bubble up,
It's not,
Pantomime?
yeah, not that easy in low sec, bro.
Yeah, no, not that easy. Null sec wins again. We don't have that problem.
You
But
don't
anyways,
have ECM bursting as a problem in null sec.
I find it that it's a minor inconvenience, but not something that requires like a change. I'm gonna miss it, but I won't have to fix my security status anymore, which is a plus.
I sincerely miss burst jamming. I was one of the degenerates. Lumpy Mayo, our Lord and Savior, taught me how to burst jam with my interceptors, and I miss Test Alliance and other OCs choosing to lose their shit over it. I did not inconvenience them. They chose to inconvenience themselves with their rage and their hatred and their inadequacy of game mechanics.
Facts.
Listen, no one's stopping you from burst jamming after Wednesday. Just get into a Scorpion or a Widow and crack on.
Just commit, basically.
Yeah, I think I'll just do something different. But the thing is that
you don't undock red line, so you'll do exactly the same thing you're doing now, which is sit in the testagram and crab.
I'm actually not on the testagram at all. I am in. I don't know where I am right
deployed.
now. I think I'm in Jita currently, but I've been playing in Thera. Well, out of Thera, anyways. But that wasn't what I was going to say. What I was going to say is I forgot what I was going to say. That sucks. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about I throw another ECM bursting annoyance at you?
Oh, right. That's what I was going to say. That there was no absolute way that I was going to, get into a hauler or a battleship to do ECM burst shenanigans. And that this is another way that CCP has changed the game to remove an emergent gameplay loop from it. Because you wouldn't have thought about this
you're right.
when they introduced the interceptor. right? When they introduced the Interceptor, you thought, wow, a fast ship. When they introduced the Burst Jammer, you thought, wow, a thing that can break target locks. No one thought to put them together until somebody did. And when that person did, it revolutionized trolling.
Do remember?
Revolutionized
do
it.
remember? You're weasel wording this to some extent by implying that emergent gameplay is inherently good gameplay.
I didn't say anything about it being
It's not the
good.
reason why
I
it
just
was
said it was emergent.
Emergent gameplay is supposed to be complex situations emerging from simple mechanics, and a burst jamming interceptor is not complex gameplay. It's just annoying gameplay.
But it's gameplay nonetheless.
So another, there
Sorry,
are lots of.
Ariel looks like he's got something to say before he falls
Go
off
on,
his
yeah.
head.
I just wanted to say, and yet the mechanic was in the game,
It was.
and who used it? Very little people.
I have
The small against the big.
Yeah, also the big against the big and the big against the small have used it.
I couldn't confirm that.
There is no one size of group that has only benefited from it when the others haven't.
I don't know.
Oh,
I think that, having a minor inconvenience is just another day. But it's okay. You want to remove gameplay from the gameplay, you do that.
Here's a real one.
You do that.
Here's a real one that has been absolutely getting on people's nerves for some years now, and that is ECM bursting Bouchers at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, I might have, I might have approached this by limiting ECM to cruiser and above if I was the one with all of the levers to pull at CCP,
Smart move.
rather than just battleships. But
and haulers for some reason.
I get it. They want people to commit to properly tackling haulers so that the haulers can tackle them back.
No, they
and
want
like the industrial silo to bring the blops in.
Yeah, I don't think they thought that far ahead.
They just want it to be. Somebody said it before. ECM is good for that solo ship that gets blobbed. So that's for. So now ECM burst modules
Redline,
are for
don't come crying to me. Like,
I'm not crying.
Please think
I'm
of the
not
children
crying
about
to
this.
you. I'm not crying to you. I'm saying that now that module is going to be used in a case where there is a solo hauler. He has just put all of his wealth into his ship and he is traveling and he is absconded by miscreants. And rather than die to the miscreants, he activates the blessed module and the targets break their lock. The target locks break and he survives. Lives another day.
You know what? What a terrible, valuable lesson he's missed out on.
What's that? Dying on a gate to some goofball?
Don't put all your stuff into a hauler and run blind.
Well, then you have to make more than one trip.
Yeah. Well, sorry. What are we talking about?
I'm honestly not sure. I was talking about like the new use for the burst jamming module.
Okay.
Oh, Luke's lights match mine now. We're in the red light district together.
I'm kind of at the point I don't really see the point in the module. I'm interested to see what people continue doing with it. That's not just like Scorpions in Losec and Untethered and other like abuse. I think there was still outlier issues that like aren't addressed by this change. And if you were that unhappy with it, why isn't it just removed from the game? Is honestly kind of where I got to. Like I still like it. I think it's good. But like if it was that much of a problem, why wasn't it just followed to its natural extent?
Well, and there is actually one that is specific. There is a module that exists that is already specific to battleships to break target locks. So, like, you wouldn't have even have had to do anything specifically for battleships.
Are you sure?
But it doesn't do that anymore.
It hasn't done that for 5 years.
No, that's not true.
The Target Spectrum Breaker got renamed to the SIG reduction thing on Battleship.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
You punch it and your battleship becomes as small as a frigate for a few seconds. Tell you what.
So it went from like weird Russians using it to nobody using it.
Yeah, awesome.
Well,
Just
I
like
don't
the
know.
SAM module,
I
Burst
still see
Jammer.
people using it.
Okay.
I still see people, whatever the target spectrum breaker has been renamed to. I still see people using it today. There are long periods where I don't see it. I watch a lot of videos of fleet fights in Eve, right? And about twice a year, I see a fleet fight video where they are using it to great effect. Now, the way that I've had it used against me in the past,
That seems like such a
um,
valuable module. 2 times a year it's used to great effect. That's
well,
insane.
great effect is the key thing here. Now, what people use it for to great effect is when they are facing, for example, massed carriers, which does still happen despite their balance problems now.
Yeah.
The enemy flies, 200 fighters over to your Macarial. You punch it, and you can now catch reps when you couldn't before. It is a choice. If it was, you wouldn't want it to be balanced so highly to the degree that everybody always fitted it to everything. Otherwise, like, what's the point? You might as well build it into the ship if it's going to be a required fit. Take a mid slot off of every ship and just auto fit it as an ability if it's going to be on everything, right? So the fact that we do still see it used, but it's a specific choice for a specific situation, I think shows that it's a very well balanced module.
Well, I think that if it's used in very, very, very infrequently, it's not well balanced at all. Like, because how many modules are there that you never see? That's
Yeah, but
sad.
but you just said it. Modules that you never see. You see this module, and the
Infrequently.
name
Consistently.
you look at
It's-
the signature radius suppressor is what they renamed it to.
Thank you.
The fact you see it occasionally allows, kind of coming back to your comment around, emergent gameplay.
Okay.
It allows for a level of emergent gameplay, and maybe there is a better use for it that somebody's not found yet, and maybe they'll find it in a year's time. It's fine. It's used.
Hear me out. Instead of removing this gameplay aspect, why not fix the complaint of creating a counter gameplay to it? You don't want to be burst jammed? Fit a mid slot that makes you immune to burst jamming. So then you have to trade something to be immune to burst jamming if you want to, if that's a big enough problem for you. But I guarantee no one would use that module either.
Well, do remember that burst jamming hasn't been removed from the game. It's actually going to be
stronger.
It's actually going to be stronger because it when it is used, it's only ships that have a bonus for it.
Sir, please. Burst jamming has effectively been removed from the game in the manner that is inconvenient to you.
I tell you what, burst jamming has been removed from an extremely non-committal portion of the game.
Scorpions on tether are non-committal.
If it's on tether, it's not burst jamming.
That is a giant clown emoji, and I probably deserve it. But really though, it is effectively removing the module from most use cases. But that's okay. It's fine. They could have done differently, but they've got some other little things that they're doing. Of course, we had Okami to talk about the mining changes, the T1 and T2 density upgrades, the new T3 mining upgrade. He did say again specifically that it was going to be like to bring capital mining back by choice. So that to me, because we asked him about like power requirements and stuff like that, that to me sounds like players are going to have to make a choice on whether they have things like Ansiblexes and stuff like that, or they have a T3 mining upgrade. What do you guys think about that?
We've
I
been
don't think
talking
anything
about
about
it a
this
bit.
project, so I'm gonna just sit back and be quiet.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just say again, Phantomite, what do you think about that?
Nominate Ariel.
Yeah, we've been talking about it a bit internally. There's still some stuff that's up in the air. Like I don't know what's been released and what hasn't. We're still talking about it. We still have feedback, so I think we probably need to wait till Tuesday for this one to hit. I didn't even know that these were in the Insta, so
Yeah.
I think Equinox in general makes you make choices in yourself. To start with, those choices were fucking terrible. But they're starting to maybe be interesting. I don't know. We'll see on Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday? Is it Tuesday or is it Wednesday?
I thought it was
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh,
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday, the
The Wednesday
12th. What
patch.
in the why? Why? First you put your shit on Reels, then you're gonna release a patch on a Wednesday. This isn't the CCP I know. Where? What happened?
What else are you busy with on a Wednesday?
Work? What?
Are
I have a
you not
job.
busy with work? At work? Are you not busy at work on a Tuesday as well?
Well, yes, but that's not the point. The point is that there's a pattern, right? We used to do Trash Talk Tuesday so we could talk about the patch stuff on the Tuesdays. It was great. We were
What?
the
Not
first
because it
ones to
began
talk
with a
about it.
T.
And that was 100% what Trash Talk Tuesday was used to. It was to talk about patches, not to shit talk people.
I think the key part of Trash Talk Tuesday is in the first two words.
Tuesday? Oh,
No.
trash talk. I understand. Anyways, but there are also some other little things that they posted in the Instagram reel today. It was bigger. Instead, like you're gonna be able to pin stations. So you know how if you've got a big old asset list where all of your assets are your personal assets window, you can pin stations. You'll be able to pin stations to the top of that screen,
Oh.
which will actually be pretty cool. They're making some improvements to PI templates, which don't really matter too much to me. I don't do PI, but they're basically making it easier on your clicking fingers, which seems to be what they're trying to do with PI in general, which I approve of. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it as far as what's been said. But there's still 3 more days to go, and I imagine they're gonna put more reels out. The motherfuckers.
We
Sorry.
forgot one actually quite big balance change. We forgot what they said they're going to do to the EOS.
Oh, which was what?
They're going to separate the drone damages to apply specifically to normal mobile drones and not to sentries.
What's that gonna do to the EOS, honestly?
It's going to harm its automated nature in Pochven a lot in massed fleets.
So like multi-boxers?
Multi-boxers. First they got to buy another stick of RAM, and now this, eh?
God bless.
Sentry EOSs were oppressive.
Yeah.
Sentry drone assign is very oppressive. It is instant alpha. I still,
quite frankly, I think Ariel, I think we're at the point where I don't understand why drone assist exists in this game at all.
okay. I have feelings on this. I am a strong defender of drone assign. Even as someone who used Sentry drone assign to great effect, our rattlesnake fleet was the greatest time of my life. It is oppressive. That instant alpha and the fact that it's not trickled out over 10 seconds and there is no delay in sentry assist, it's too powerful. The downside of this is the specific circumstances in which it was oppressive is Pochven, which is probably a game design problem all on its own. Something like your 100 MN Giela's medium drone assign, I don't think that there's any inherent power creep in that. It's an emergent gameplay you seriously need to keep around because it enables smaller groups to punch up. Removing drone assign removes so much capability and different styles of gameplay.
Would I be right in saying
drone
that
assign is just broken?
Yeah, this is specifically drone assist is like 95% more painful than other drone assist when it's sentries.
Yeah. And look, there's certainly
I think that's reasonable. I kind of get it
about drone design, but I don't think anyone can disagree. Sentries is just.
I mean, and I think that this probably actually just goes hand in hand with the more nuanced view that you've just given, but there aren't any other weapon systems in the game that your FC can fire for you.
Yep.
Don't. Surrender ship modules to FC.
Now, I think that would be an interesting thing to do, especially in the case of
you just yelled about multi-boxing.
Yeah, but imagine. So, imagine you have a fleet of Kikimoras, and you've slaved all of your ships to your FC, and your FC just presses F1, and immediately 100 lasers, just that'd be the coolest fucking thing that you could see.
Or hear me out. Hear me
Mhm.
out.
Listening.
Your FC can say, shoot that target, and everybody does an action, and there's 100 lasers shooting that target.
Yeah, 100
That's not
people
what
play the
happened.
game.
Yeah, I'm talking
Two
about the
Kikimoras
one
spool on
pattern.
my hyena for the entire fight, and Logi is going, why is Ariel taking so much damage?
That is also legitimate gameplay.
I love that. That's good. You
It's
gotta do
happened
that.
more than once.
So the EOS in a fleet setting, specifically with drone assist, is getting quite the nerf. I do know that some groups do use EOSs in low sec as well, where drone assist isn't the same. It can have the same triggering, but they won't auto aggro if the target isn't a valid target, that kind of thing. So it has nearly the same kind of overpower in low sec as it does in null sec and in Pochvan. And I imagine in wormhole space as well, I would imagine that EOSs are used there as well to some extent. Maybe someone can correct me on that.
That's an interesting point. We've tried our Gillas in low sec like 12 times, and they've not worked a single time. We've literally just had to pack up and go home because we couldn't shoot anything.
Well, unless your people did it, right?
Perfectly valid targets. I just
Okay.
find that drone assign doesn't work in low sec. Never has. I'd be
Okay.
interested to know from people that are doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm on board with Luke here, in his viewpoint that, you know, the more that CCP gives of the game for you to actually play yourself, the better the game it is.
It's also the bigger chance you're going to screw up and destroy like Ariel's hyena, which is then going to screw the rest of the fleet up. But that's the point, right? Is this that human action means human mistake, and human mistake leads to big fights potentially.
Yeah.
Jumping instead of bridging, for instance.
I mean, yes, jumping instead of bridging is the really good example of human error that leads to, fun.
Well, you said it. I had to bring it up, of course. The greatest example.
So, you know, I think that we've hit upon the upcoming changes, all of the upcoming changes to the game here.
So far.
You know.
So far, all the ones we know of.
I feel okay. The announced changes. We've hit upon the announced changes that we're going to be seeing on Wednesday, and I for one, I feel pretty positive about the set of changes coming. They've given us a sprinkling of major balance changes. They've given us a sprinkling of quality of life changes, and I think it's nice to have a little bit of all of it coming in one go. Thank you, CCP. I would very much like to see frequent small sets of balance changes to the game like this. I love it. So we've been through all of those. Perhaps we'll go through and see what people have got to say as their kind of wrap up for the show today. I mean, Luke, how do you feel about what we're about to see on Wednesday? Anything else you'd like to see in the future?
I mean, there's a load of stuff I want to see in the future, but what I'm going to repeat, and probably get the broken record on this one, because every time there's a patch that has something new, it reminds me to point out to everybody that whinges on Reddit around Eve is dying and it's in maintenance mode. You don't add new things to something that's in maintenance mode, so just shut the fuck up. And it's a good thing, right? It's a point, right?
Ariel, Ariel, do you have any profanity-laden proclamations for us?
No, I'm good. The rockle tilts upwards now.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. That's all.
I don't.
I'm someone who is very happy about that fact, and they've been going on about it for months to me.
My corp actually, we are degenerate multi-boxes and we are degenerate rockle users. They had no idea that it didn't stand up. That kind of gives you how much of a perspective that we've been undocking lately in the game that CCB's made. So if we can keep undoing some of this stuff, maybe we can see our rockles out in space again.
That's what I would love to see that. I miss the old days of being able to be in a fleet of like 60 of my friends all of us in Kikimoras or bombers or something, and we just kill a dozen Rorquals because they're out, but then the next day they're right back out doing it again, just a little bit smarter. You know, I miss those days.
Or not in some cases.
Usually not, but in a lot of cases it was smarter.
Well, Redline, before I give you the final word on the show, I think I'd like to say that even though I think that all three of you guys are part of the groups that are killing this game, I think that we've all found some very exciting things that we all agree on today, and I look forward to Wednesday.
I also look forward to Wednesday. Most of what's coming Wednesday won't matter to me directly, but I hope it makes miners happy, because maybe we can go back to posting memes instead of listening to miners complain on Reddit. I would prefer that, because I don't know if you know, but Seema posts the best memes in the entire world, and will post them, like, if you let him. But if you're crying on Reddit, he can't do that. Anyways, today we're gonna raid a person named Dangerous D. He's a man who is not really sure what he's doing. Looks like he's ratting, but we're gonna go say hi to him. And then maybe Phantom, are you wanna like close this out? You know, say this has been Untethered and we'll see you next week, or like, did I do it already?
This has been Untethered. We're here every single Sunday at 2100 Eve time.
2100.
Make sure in a couple of weeks, wherever you are in the world, over the next couple of weeks, if your clocks change, make sure you familiarize yourself with when Untethered will be broadcasting.
Yeah. No one needed that advice before today, though, at all.
Yeah.
Everyone was just perfectly fine with daylight savings time. No one on the show pinged like 2 hours early to try to get people on. Nothing like that happened. And
no, and it wouldn't. It would never happen.
It would never happen. Not to us. We're too professional for that. But anyways, as this time ticks down, we will definitely see you next week. Hopefully these changes are cool. If they're not, we'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it. All right, now we wave and I click the button. Bye.